Hi, welcome back to another episode of Wellness Chronicles. With Wellness Chronicles, my purpose is to disseminate and provide as much evidence-based and expert information so that way you are able to recognize, manage, and even reverse those diabetes symptoms in the most easiest, simplest way possible. My name is Pooja Patel. I'm a registered nurse and diabetes educator from Toronto, Canada. So today we're headed to the grocery store. Have you ever gone to the grocery store and stood in front of an aisle thinking, what are all these ingredients, or what does this nutrition label mean? Today I'm going to simplify that for you because it's the most underused tool in your diabetes toolkit. So why do you really need to know how to read a nutrition label? What's the importance of it? Because this way you'll know exactly how much and what kinds of foods you're putting in your body. Whether you have diabetes, pre-diabetes, or you're a person who is healthy, you should really know what you're putting in your body. And today's episode will talk about exactly what is on a nutrition label, what those percentages mean, what those numbers mean, and how it relates to you. So today I'm going to use the nutrition label that was on this granola bar that I picked up at the airport as a snack. It says that it's all natural, it's a source of fiber, it's gluten-free, and it's dairy-free. I just want everybody to know that this company is not sponsoring me. I'm just using it as an example. So there are many aspects of the nutrition label, but this episode, I just want to talk about 5 things so as not to make it so overwhelming to understand. So the first aspect of the nutrition label that I want to highlight is that of the serving size. This particular serving size is the entire bar, which is 40 grams. So 40 grams is the actual weight of the bar and not how much carbohydrates or protein or fiber is in the bar. We'll get to that, but the actual weight of the bar is 40 grams, and that is what the manufacturer suggests as the serving size. So you can have the entire bar. That is what the manufacturer suggests. Now, in other things, like for example, if you are having a bowl of popcorn, if you're having a packet of popcorn, the serving size is not the entire packet of microwave popcorn. The serving size recommended by the manufacturer is most likely between 100 to 200 grams. So the reason why it's important to know what your serving size is because that is what the manufacturer suggests that you should have as part of the packet. The second thing I want to talk about is the percentage of daily value, which is written on the side here. So you'll see that that's the percentage of daily value. So in a nutshell, if the percentage is less than 5, that means that it's not enough of a nutrient to sustain you, to nourish your body for the day. And if it's more than 15, that means it's too much of a nutrient in that particular food that you don't need that much from that one food. If it's lower than 5%, it's too little. If it's higher than 15%, it's too much. So you want to really differentiate how much of the percentage value that the manufacturer has put on. So for example, if you look at the amount of fat on here, the total fat is 11%. So that's a good amount of fat to consume in one serving, in one sitting. So the calcium, for example, it only is 2%. So that doesn't mean you can't have the entire bar. You should definitely have it. It just means that you have to augment it with something else. So that way you are getting to that 100% of your daily allocated amount. The third thing I want to talk about on this nutrition label is the amount of calories. So this bar has 170 calories. Now this is where I think it's really important for you to go and see your diabetes educator or a nutritionist or a dietitian to figure out exactly how many calories you should be consuming throughout the day. That depends on your age, depends on your weight, it depends on your physical activity, it depends on height. Many factors are considered when we are calculating your total daily amount of calories. Typically though, a healthy adult should consume between 1,200 to 1,800 calories a day, again, depending on their physical activity, depending on their height, depending on their weight, all these factors. But typically, the ballpark figure is between 1,200 to 1,800 calories. So what I want to differentiate is between kilocalories and kilojoules. So sometimes nutrition labels will have both numbers, which is kilocalories and kilojoules. The number that you want to look at is that of the kilocalories, because that is the total amount of calories that you should be consuming. So just for reference, 1 kilocalorie is approximately 4.18 kilojoules. The next thing I want to talk about on a nutrition label that is important to note is your ingredients. So this particular bar has 6 ingredients in it, which is almonds, pumpkin seeds, dried cranberries, brown rice syrup, crisp brown rice, and honey. The manufacturers will normally put the ingredient that is the most first and then in ascending order. So this particular bar has a lot of almonds, and so that is the major ingredient in the granola bar. What I want to talk about is if a granola bar or if a food has more than 7 ingredients and there are ingredients in that ingredient list that you can't pronounce, my recommendation would be to maybe avoid eating that food, because if you can't pronounce a food, why would you put that in your body? I actually had a patient who stopped reading the nutrition labels because he couldn't pronounce the ingredients on the list and he couldn't make sense of what the ingredients were. And so he stopped looking at nutrition labels, because when he would go to the grocery store, it would actually take him more than 2 hours just to figure out what was healthy and what was not. And so that is what my recommendation is. If you can't pronounce an ingredient on the list, maybe try to avoid that food, because that is what you are putting in your body. The last and the most important thing is the macronutrients on the nutrition label. Now, your macronutrients are your fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. So let's start with your carbohydrates. So there are approximately 22 grams of carbohydrates in here. Of the 22 grams, 2 grams of it is fiber and 12 grams of it is sugar. So now fiber, because it does not raise your sugar, we can actually subtract the fiber from the total carbohydrate value. So technically you're only consuming 20 grams of carbohydrates with this granola bar. So what does that mean for you? Diabetes Canada recommends that your meals should be anywhere between 45 to 60 grams of carbohydrate, and your snacks could be anywhere between 15 to 30 grams of carbohydrate. So when you are eating, when you are balancing your meal, or when you are planning your meals throughout the day, these numbers are important to consider, especially when you are taking insulin and especially when you are taking medications to manage your diabetes. So based on that, this would be a great snack because the amount of carbohydrates is only 22 grams. So it's not quite a meal, it's a snack, because it's between that 15 to 30 grams of carbohydrates that you would normally have for a snack. The next macronutrient let's talk about is your protein, your value of protein. So there's 5 grams of protein in here, which is pretty decent for a granola bar. So what does that mean for you? How much protein should you have throughout the day? So Diabetes Canada suggests that you should have 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight per day if you don't have any kidney disease. For example, I am a 47 kilo person, so I should consider having at least 70 grams of protein every single day within my diet. Now, if you do have kidney disease, if you are a patient with diabetes and do have kidney disease called nephropathy, then Diabetes Canada suggests that you should have no more than 0.8 grams per kilo of body weight in your diet every single day. Lastly, Diabetes Canada recommends 12 to 17 grams of monounsaturated fats and 11 to 14 grams of polyunsaturated fats. Now, these fats are your healthy fats. They come from nuts and seeds and fatty fish. So these fats actually make cholesterol in your body, and you need cholesterol for hormone function. You need lubrication in your joints. These fats will help those bodily functions. It is also recommended that you limit your saturated fats to 7% of your total caloric intake per day. So the saturated fats come from beef and bacon and seed oils that we see in our everyday life. So based on the numbers on the granola bar, I would recommend that as a snack. It's a great snack. The only thing that I would recommend to add is maybe a piece of cheese or an egg, or something that has some protein and fat in it, because it is carbohydrate heavy. It's 22 grams of carbohydrate. If you eat that alone, your blood sugar will definitely spike. So you need to even out your blood sugar. So maybe have some vegetables with hummus, maybe an egg, maybe a piece of cheese, anything that has fiber or protein or a little bit extra fat in it, so that will even out your blood sugar and not cause those peaks and valleys that we're always so afraid of. Why is this particular tool in your diabetes toolkit important to know and understand? The reason is because this helps you know how much carbohydrates you are eating and you're putting in your body, how much protein you are putting in your body, and how much fat you are putting in your body. This also helps you create a nice balanced meal. If you are eating a balanced meal, then you are lowering your A1C, you are lowering your blood glucose, and you are lowering that insulin resistance that is causing you to have type 2 diabetes. Having said that though, I don't recommend that you get obsessed with those numbers, that you have to eat only 45 to 60 grams of carbs during your meal, or you have to absolutely get your 1 to 1.5 grams of protein in per day. I don't recommend that you get obsessed with those numbers. What I do recommend is that you use this as an approximate guide to make sure that you are hitting those numbers as much as possible, so that way you are nourishing your body, you're helping balance your meal, and we're decreasing that insulin resistance that is causing you to have diabetes, pre-diabetes. So this brings me to the pro tip of the episode. Go to the grocery store, pick up your favorite food, and read that nutrition label. Figure out, were you eating too much or too little, or just perfect of all of the macronutrients? Does the ingredient list have less than 7 ingredients? Can you pronounce all of those ingredients on that ingredient list? All of these questions will help you understand whether you're making an informed choice and whether you're making a healthy choice as to what you're putting into your body. So thank you so much for listening to this episode all the way to the end. I hope you took away some pertinent information for yourself, for friends, for family members that you can share with. If you found any of this information helpful, please don't forget to share this episode and don't forget to subscribe. It is absolutely free. It helps me create more evidence-based content so that way we can have a happier, healthier community. Until next time, stay happy, healthy, and kind.